Hey guys, welcome back to the daily vlog series. Another day done of WePlay Pushka League action, and I'm straight in with day number 20 in these daily vlog cycles. And if I'm not mistaken, it's day 8? 8. I'm pretty sure I'm right with 8. Well, let's hope my analysis of what's happened today is better than my counting. Let's just hope my count was right to begin with. So, let's break down what happened. Let's start with the first series. Nigma versus OG.Seed happened this morning, and to some people's surprises, OG.Seed were actually able to take a game, but not too many people would be surprised that Nigma was able to take the series. Nigma is a team that I think are likely to drop a game or lead to a third game right now, just because of the way that they're playing. I think when you actually break down what Nigma are doing, there's a lot of over-under calibration, right? They might come in and they'll win, and they're like, okay, so we understood what we've done here. Now, how far can we flex this the other way? And then it's like, oh, that was too far. And then by the third game, they'll usually bring it back around. Or so you'd hope. We saw that didn't work out for them against Liquid yesterday. But with this series against OG.Seed, it just seems like they were actually able to play the draft pretty fast, right? They were unlocked by the potential Batrider. We've seen why Batrider is such a goddamn popular pick right now. If it's uncounted in a game, it dominates the game. And that actually, the way that they leverage that and understand that once they have like one item they want to start fighting, they use that to create more space for the PL. It's actually something really interesting to watch about Nigma is that they really do understand that what they need to do is get their first item and then go. The trip over point is sometimes how they get to those first items, right? And that's why in game 2, we saw that exposed a little bit, especially considering they went for this Terrorblade that is a hero, you know, he has to play around his real ultimate, right, the Metamorphosis, but more importantly, he drives himself forward on more items. They did get the Batrider again, but it just wasn't enough. It wasn't the freest of bat games in comparison. And actually, when I think about that series, the first 2 games, it's like PL eventually just got to rule the world in both cases. I think there is potential TB to work. It's just obviously right now, it requires very high execution because the hero doesn't want to be going non-stop, right? If you think about the way that hero like has always been able to function, it's like if I lose my lane, I go to the jungle at level 2 and I'll recover, but you guys better make space for me. So you really need to have super active heroes in your lineup if you want to like execute that, I think. And they did have pretty damn active ones there. Batrider, Clock, and of course Axe, as well as the Chen rounding it out. But in the end, OG.Seed, they were a lot quicker, right? A Void Spirit is one of these heroes that definitely unlocks that potential. If you want speed, you pick up Weaver. He literally is one of the fastest buggers imaginable. And then I think in that type of game, actually, like the thing that does screw over Batrider and the difference between game 1 and game 2 there was that they didn't have the Nyx in combination with the Batrider, and they got counter-picked with that Nyx being on their opponent's side. Going into game 3, of course, they switched it up again. Once again, Nigma, realizing where the issue was, they bring that aggression in even earlier. They pick up the double physical lineup, complemented by the Ember Spirit for the rotations, and really not much that you can actually expect the side of OG.Seed to be able to do to negate the issues that come into mind when you think about Ursa and Slardar, especially when they go for this spicy Doom pick. I say spicy because I actually think Doom is a hero that is going to probably come back in. I don't think this hero is too weak right now. It's just we haven't seen teams be able to actually tap into it and find a way to really use it. I think that's going to change in the upcoming weeks. You know, the first few weeks, I think Kuro was saying like first 4 weeks of patch is really where people start to kind of like get their bearings. And Doom really is a hero that isn't in a terrible place. We talk about how heroes with big ultimate cooldowns feel a little bit dead right now, but Doom isn't limited by just his ult. Yes, he is named after his ultimate, but at the same time, he's a utility type builder who has access to easy, strong buffs early on via neutral creep. Let's move on to Series 2 though. Series 2, not really too much to talk about this in comparison, mainly because it was a 2-0 and it was dominant from Virtus Pro Prodigy. I believe the second game was like 15, 16 minutes around that point was where the side of Team Spirit gave up. In game 1, you know, they had a good fight. They kept in there. Virtus Pro Prodigy, sometimes it felt a little bit like they may be playing with their food, but it's the nature of when you're dealing with this bristleback, which Team Spirit had. It does tend to hold on for quite a while. It does waste your time. You have to get to a point where you can get behind them and maybe ignore the bristle or instantly burst him. When you got heroes like the Ember Spirit, you got the Centaur for repositioning. That can happen, and it especially can expose the underbelly of heroes like Lina and Cole, which Team Spirit used in game 1. Game 2, I'll be even quicker with this. They went for an anti-mage. The anti-mage, I believe he went mid if I recall correctly. It did not work out too well. They had Troll, Anti-Mage, and they did have the Troll Oracle combo, so they would look pretty strong. But Virtus Pro Prodigy, oh man, like this is why they're the prodigial sons on their way up, is they actually absorbed the sun into their draft by taking the Phoenix Tree in combo. It is back, and it looked potent and beautiful. It's just such a goddamn strong combo. There's a reason it was dominant in the scene, I think, about a year ago, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing teams pick it up again, especially when you think about teams that we have in this. A team like Liquid is a perfect example of a team that could easily run that combo because they have two players that in the past have spammed the living crap out of those two. I think takeaways with that as well is the thing about Virtus Pro Prodigy is that they have enough different picks that they aren't just like slotting meta picks that we already see. They're actually going forward with something different, right? Like I think they've done Skywrath in one game. Sand King came out in another one. Like they aren't afraid to change their drafts a little bit and remember that a year ago I played this hero. This could work, especially in these early days. The meta, the new patch where people aren't really sure what's working. They're just sure what worked previously. And then final series just wrapped up. Actually, I kicked up this video straight afterwards because I thought there was a few interesting things there. There's Navi versus FlyToMoon. This one did require 3 games, and in the end. Well, in the end, it kind of ended up being a stomp to a stomp to a stomp. I think it would be fair to say. 2-1 was the final score in favor of Navi. FlyToMoon definitely had their moments, but Navi, maybe they just gave themselves a little bit of easier execution, is how I would sum this up. So the way I look at FlyToMoon has this issue where they are running the same formula that they ran in the original Windstrike FlyToMoon days, where Iceberg is meant to alleviate pressure from the rest of the map by drawing attention to himself. He's meant to stomp his lane, then his opponent mid is meant to go full Papega, require rotation, and that creates space for your silent player to just farm. Back in the day, that was literally silent. In these days, you know, you're looking at his modern day equivalent, which is VToon. And VToon is very much able to get involved in these fights, but he also, the way that the team plays around him is clearly targeted that old, more classical style of POS 1 where farm, come back later. And sadly, with the way that the meta goes right now, you can only farm that first item. And it's like, you look at teams like OG, and like I was saying, Nigma, they might overshoot it, but they do the same thing. It's like, got an item, that's a pass spike, we go. If you can get 2 in sync, beautiful. That's actually the difference. Like, teams which are making it work right now, get an item on their main heroes, just go, right? And then the top tier teams, they synchronize 2 items within their draft that gives them a power spike that their opponents can't match. And then they flex around that later on. And I think the thing in this lineup is it's a little bit too predictable. And even if you feel like they haven't been figured out by their opponents right now, I would say the way that these drafts have to play, it's almost like you're rolling dices, actually. It's you going, if Iceberg doesn't have a game, what game do we have, right? And that's something they're going to really have to go back to the drawing board and try and enable themselves to exist without that. Don't get me wrong, they had moments in the second game. FlyToMoon actually, like, especially that Wraith King was becoming a bulky boy. That was an example of where the Tiny done enough that it led to that space, right? But inevitably, they just couldn't overcome it in the end. And the final game of that series, something I was excited to see was that Navi did actually pull out the Clinks. I've been curious to see if this hero is going to get picked a little bit. It did receive some buffs around the damage, I believe, that it puts out with Searing Arrows, but the mana cost went up as well. And I think the interesting thing to look at with Navi is they have a similar comparative to like FlyToMoon right now, where Crystallize needs to get off to a good start, then Magical needs to kind of like ramp up in the mid. And if those 2 conditions are met, then it looks really good. In fact, that's kind of stuff that happened in game 2 for Navi anyway, right? Which is what led through, really. And with the third game, it's even more true when you've got this Phantom Lancer pick. This Phantom Lancer wants you to actually like create a little bit of space. He wants to be the center of attention in terms of being looked after by his own team, but he doesn't necessarily want to be the center of attention from his opponent's perspective. It seemed like the Clink's done a good job of ramping up that attention and moving around the map really actively. I'm going to be interested to see how Clink starts to develop into the meta, because I think there is a place for him. I think, you know, he gives you good push. People are a bit weary around his ultimate. They feel it's a bit sucky, but I think it comes back to actually if you can utilize choke points and play around them really well. That's why we've seen heroes like Pangolier that can be so amazingly powerful in team fights. Shakers who are able to cut up team fights, Tusked. You know, when you play around these ramp areas, these tight exposed spaces, that's where a hero like Clinks with the Burning Army can actually do a lot. Especially if you think about Roche engagements right now. It actually gives him a targeted area and a clear objective. And you can itemize in a way to claim those Roches as well. I've talked a lot today. But you know what? I wasn't talking at all on panel because I wasn't in today. I will be in tomorrow. I believe I'm actually on the first series, which is going to be the sides of Navi, Team Spirit facing off. With that one, given what we just saw here, It's a little bit hard to write Team Spirit off because they did get stomped by Virtus Pro Prodigy. I think Navi might be able to actually clinch it. I think that one should be a 2-1. I'd like it to be a 2-1 because that's actually the only series I'm in for tomorrow. I have the other two off. I'll be watching from home, and those two are going to be Nigma versus Ninjas in Pajamas and OG versus Alliance. This is where it gets exciting. Nigma versus Ninjas in Pajamas. NIP 2-1 OG.Seed. Nigma just 2-1 OG.Seed for comparatives. NIP beat Liquid. Liquid beat Nigma. NIP, you could say, is stronger, but it's hard to say because I think, especially with Liquid's case, they've improved as days have gone on. So I think that one could still go either way. Ninjas in Pajamas do seem to have a good understanding of their timings and the type of heroes they need to actually draft to do that. So if the drafts don't end up being like stompy out drafts, I could see a situation where NIP maybe could take that, actually. I think that's going to be close either way. I'd like Nigma, when they're playing at the best, definitely look better right now. I don't think anyone will argue against that. It's just a case of if they hit that high. So actually, I'll give it 60-40 Nigma in their favor. So I think it'll be a 2-1 score there. I like to imagine these days are 2-1s, but in most cases you don't know, because especially the last one, OG versus Alliance. This is a more precarious one, actually. Alliance beat Liquid, so by these iterations, we can say that they're higher than Liquid, but Liquid, as we said, days gone on, they played better. OG we haven't seen yet, though. This is going to be the first game played, and I still have to favor them in a 2-0 situation, just because Alliance, they're still young with this S4 plus FNG now in the roster, right? FNG just began with this tournament as their stand-in, and S4 was recently drafted into the lineup. I think OG, I could see them coming in and smashing this with a 2-0 score. I think that is the most likely one to be stomped today, and tomorrow rather. And that's not taking anything away from Alliance. That's just all credit to OG. These guys, they were in the finals. What was it? It was 3-2 score. Like, can't really underestimate them. That's gonna be it. That's my roundup. I will see you all in the morning. Hopefully, I'll be on the panel hosting it for the first series, and then I'll be watching the Dota action. Maybe you'll see me in chat. Maybe I'll see you in the comments. Maybe you have someone like you agree with, disagree with. Maybe you've had some insights here into the teams that I just discussed today, and you've got a clashing opinion, or maybe you feel the same way. I'd love to hear it all the same. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you want to see more action, because we are doing these things every day, and when there isn't Dota on, we go into different kind of branches of life. It's not just always about Dota. It might be about education, or it might be about health, or whatever the hell is going to be. I don't know, because I just do them on the day. They're not plotted ahead. It's just whatever my brain is doing the thinkies boos with at the time. But I'm thinky booing that I need to go. So I'll see you in the next one.